You are listening to the Becoming the Wealthy You podcast with Jermaine Foley. If you're a woman who makes good money in your career or business, but you're not building wealth like you want to, then you're in the right place. In this podcast, you'll learn how to stop overspending, break free from the cycle of debt, save lots of cash, and become the wealthy woman you were born to be. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about something I hear often, and it usually sounds a little like this. When I was making way less money, I actually was more on top of things. I knew where it was going. I paid attention. I had a budget. I was way more careful. But once I started making more, I felt like I didn't have to be as careful anymore. I didn't have to be as on top of it, and I didn't have to watch things as closely. And now I make more money, but it just doesn't feel like it. I feel like I should be so much further along by now. And I think this is such an important conversation, and I can't tell you how many times women have shared almost this exact same conversation with me. It's just like, when I wasn't making as much, when I was just out of college, or when I was in my early 30s, I was making less money and I was on top of things. I was responsible. I was careful. And as I started making more, I just felt like I didn't need to do that anymore. And so this conversation isn't about making more money, right? We all want to increase our income and make more money. Like, that's always a goal. And you're probably already doing that, right? You have the career, the business, and you have the money, the income coming in, but your financial life or your net worth may not reflect how much you make. And that's the part that is just so frustrating. And I know firsthand how frustrating that could be. My husband and I, we were making multiple six figures, but we had a ton of debt. We were spending everything we made. We had very little savings, and it just felt like money came in and it went right back out. So I know how frustrating that can be. Right? Because you look around and think, how am I making this much money, but my savings is not where I want it to be? I'm carrying this high interest credit card debt every single month. I'm behind when it comes to retirement. Yes, I'm investing, but it's not nearly enough that will allow me to retire comfortably. This is what I want to talk about today, because sometimes as your income increases, your attention to your finances decrease. And that really, really matters. Right? Because what you focus on expands, it grows. And the opposite of that is true as well. What you don't focus on tends to disappear. Not all at once or in obvious ways at first, but little by little. So as you stop paying attention to your finances, it just starts going places that you're not aware of. Right? And this makes sense when you think about a friendship. Think about a friendship, and this happens to us a lot, I think, as we age. So let's talk about maybe your best friend from college. You kept in touch, you paid attention to her, you checked in on her, you were there for her, but as you grew up, right, as you may have gotten married or moved away for a job, she got busy, the relationship, you just stopped paying as much attention to it. It's not that you don't still love your friend, but there's just less attention. And what happens with that relationship? Eventually, you just talk less and less and less. And before you know it, you look up and you're like, oh my God, I haven't talked to my friend in years. Where is she? What's going on? I wonder how things are. That's the same thing with your money. It's like, it's a relationship that you have to pay attention to and focus on, or you will look up years later and be like, oh my gosh, where in the world is all my money going? I know it's coming in, but I don't have as much to show for it. I feel like I should be further along by now. Okay, so let's just take a moment to revisit what it may have been like when you made less. When you made less money, the limits were very, very obvious. You knew that you had to pay attention to your money. You knew that you needed a plan or a budget. You knew you could not say yes to everything. You knew that you had to think about it before you just spent it. Maybe you had a budget. Maybe you tracked your spending. You used apps or just pen and paper. But regardless, you knew exactly what was coming in and what needed to go out. You knew what you could spend and what you could not spend. And maybe during that season of life, that felt pretty restrictive, right? It felt tight. Maybe it felt like you were constantly watching every single dollar. So when your income started to increase, especially when you really started making money, your brain may have said, finally, I don't have to do all of that anymore. And listen, I get it. One of the reasons we want to make more money is so that life doesn't feel as restrictive and tight, so that we can enjoy more, so that we can have more, so that we can have more breathing room, more options, and just enjoy our lives more, right? We want to be able to go to the dinners and travel and buy things and do things with your kids, upgrade your home, and enjoy the money you work so hard for. And I agree with that 100%. That is the point of life. We want to enjoy life, right? But here's where it gets tricky. Sometimes we confuse making more money with not needing to pay attention to our money anymore. We think, I make more now, so I don't need to be as on top of it, right? I don't need to be as careful as I used to. I don't need to know exactly where my money is going. I can just spend and figure it out later. And for a while, it may be fine, right? Your bills are getting paid. You can afford the payments. You go on the trips. You order out, buy the clothes, upgrade your wardrobe. You can say yes more often. Again, nothing wrong with that. I am a firm believer in doing both, building wealth and enjoying life at the same time, right? But that's the key. You have to do them both at the same time. You can't just do one and neglect the other. So when you're living life, enjoying life, and really not paying attention to your money, over time, you could start to feel like things are starting to drift out of control, right? There's this nagging hum in the back of your mind, kind of nagging you, telling you like, oh, you should be more on top of things with your money. Your debt is growing. You should probably have more savings. You probably should be investing more. And again, I want to be clear. The issue is not that you're enjoying your money. The issue is that if there's no system in place, your lifestyle can expand way beyond your great income. And so then one day you look up and think, how am I making more than I've ever made? Yet I don't feel ahead. Yet I feel like I'm behind. That's the disconnect. You are making more, but the money is not necessarily becoming more. It's not growing your wealth or your net worth. It's just coming in and going right back out. It's just going to expenses and debt, and very little of it is staying in your life. You're not having money. You're just making it and spending it. You're not learning the skill of having money. And this is why your financial life might not reflect how hard you work, how successful you are, how much money you make. So here's what I think happens for a lot of women. When you made less, you were budgeting, you were tracking, you were paying close attention, you were more careful with decisions, and that season may have felt very restrictive. But here's what I want to offer you. The restriction probably was not from you paying attention. The restriction was likely coming from the fact that during that particular season of your life, when your career was just getting going, your business was just starting to bloom, right? The money was actually limited. But because those two things happened at the same time, you were being careful, you were budgeting, you were tracking, and you had less coming in, your brain is confusing the two. It's intertwining, okay, if I am on top of my money, I'm going to feel restricted. But I want you to separate the two. You were probably feeling restricted because you just had less money, not because you were on top of your money, not because you were paying attention to your money. So now when you think about going back to that place of paying attention to your money again, having a plan, or what I like to call a system for your money, your brain is probably like, no, I do not want to go back to that. I do not want to feel restricted again. I do not want to feel like I can't spend. I do not want to feel like every single dollar has to have a name. And I don't want to do all that tracking and thinking about money. But here's the thing. You are not going back to that. You do not need to go back to managing money like you're broke. You do not need to go back to that fear-based money management. But here's what you do need. You need a new way to manage money at this new income level. You need a way to enjoy your money and still build wealth at the same time. That's the difference, because paying attention to your money is not the same as restriction. Having a plan or a system for your money is not the same as punishing yourself or putting yourself on a strict budget. Knowing where your money is going does not mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're deciding ahead of time what you want your income to do for you. You're giving your money attention and direction. And when you make a lot of money, your money needs direction more than ever before. Because if you don't give it the direction, right? Because if you don't give it direction, life will. Everything else will decide where your money is going. And then you'll look up and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here. Where in the world is all my money going? And this is why having a system for your money is so important, right? And the way I teach it, it causes you to have relief, freedom, and breathing room, right? It does not put you back in that way of, tracking every dollar, putting yourself on a strict budget, or obsessing over everything. That's not what we're going to do. Instead, we create a system, again, that creates breathing room, that stops you from constantly wondering, am I overspending? Is my credit balance going up too high, right? It's going to prevent all of that background noise that's in your brain that's kind of causing you this low-key financial stress, right? It's happening in the background and you feel it, but it's not loud, right? We want to get rid of that, right? We want to take away those questions around, did I spend the money I was supposed to save? Do I have enough for what's coming up? Where is it all going? We want to turn that quiet hum in the back of your mind off because it's exhausting, right? And that is not freedom. A good money system should help you think about money less, not more. It should help you to feel confident and in control because you know your bills are covered. You know money is going to savings. You know that you have money to spend without guilt or shame. You know that you're not accidentally spending money that should have gone somewhere else. You know that your debt is being paid off if that's something you're doing or focusing on. You know that you're investing. You don't have to mentally calculate things all day long. And this is what my 3 bank account money management system does. It gives your money a place to go. It helps you to know what's safe to spend. It helps you to enjoy your money without wondering if you're messing something up. And hear me when I say this. A money system like the one I teach is not designed to take away your freedom. A good money management system actually gives you more freedom because now you know what your money is doing. You know what it's for, what's available, what's already been handled, what can be spent guilt-free. That, my friend, is not restriction. That is peace of mind. Okay, so inside of my coaching, one of the systems that I teach is called the 3 bank account money management system. And I'm not going to be able to break the whole thing down today, but I do want to give you a high-level overview of it. So here's the basic idea. Your money needs different places to go. It should not be managed from 1 or 2 accounts. Because when all your money is sitting in one place, it's very easy for bill money, spending money, and savings to just get mixed together, right? And you're constantly doing mental math and all of that. And it really becomes hard to know what's actually safe to spend. So in the 3 bank account money management system, your money has 3 main jobs. The first account is your household account. This is for your household bills, your fixed expenses, and things like that. The second account is for your spending. I call it your spending account, right? This is the money that you intentionally put in there every time you get paid, and that is for you to be able to spend however you want to spend it. The only boundary is the amount that you put in there. Once that money is gone, then you're done spending for that pay period, okay? So this is something that you don't need to track. You don't need to do any of that. It's just like, okay, if there's money in there, I get to spend it. And then the third account is your savings account. This is where you put your emergency fund, which I like to call a life happens fund, and then also your sinking funds. So this money is for irregular expenses, your life happens fund, so that when things come up that you weren't anticipating, you have money for that. You could also save for your travel there, holiday, car repair, so many other things. And this is something that I work with my clients one-on-one to customize to their lives based on their priorities and the season of life they're in. And again, this is high level. There are many, many more details we work through inside coaching. But the main point is this: when you have a system for your money, you do not have to constantly keep everything in your head. You do not have to do a bunch of tracking. You do not have to wonder if you can spend. You don't have to wonder if there's enough for bills or if you're saving enough or if you're going too deep in debt, right? This is what allows you to build wealth and enjoy your life at the same time, because now your money is just not floating around. It has direction. Some of it is taking care of your household. Some of it is giving you freedom to enjoy your life. And some of it is building savings and preparing for what is coming. And that is how you stop feeling like you have to choose between enjoying life now and building wealth for the future. You can do both. You can build wealth and enjoy life at the same time. But when you are not paying attention to your money, right, when you're hands off, then it's almost impossible to be able to do that. So if you are listening to this and thinking, yes, that is me. When I made less, I was more on top of it. Now that I make more, I feel like I have less to show for it than I did back then, right? Maybe you have more lifestyle to show for it, but when it comes to your net worth and things like that, it feels like, wow, I'm kind of in the same spot, right? So I want you to make this shift if you can relate to that. You do not need to go back to managing your money from lack or fear. You just need to start managing your money with intention. You do not need to go back to feeling restricted. You need a system that gives your income direction and freedom. You do not need to stop enjoying your life. I promise you, that doesn't work. Because if you even tried to go back to that, you will burn out. You wouldn't last long. Maybe you would last a month or two, but then you will just revert back. So we're not doing that. You just need to make sure that your enjoyment of life is not quietly costing you your peace of mind and financial security, right? That's the work. Because the goal is not just to be able to afford more things. The goal is to turn your income into the life you actually want. And whenever I talk to women, what they actually want is both. They want to enjoy life today and feel financially secure and build wealth for the future. They don't want to just pick one, right? They don't want to just focus on investments and saving and live a boring, frugal life now and wait until retirement to enjoy life. They don't want that. But they also, when they're really honest with themselves, they don't want to spend and not be saving and getting out of debt and building up their wealth. They don't want that either. If they're honest with themselves, they want both. And that is what I teach you. That is what I work with my clients to do privately. I hold your hand. We do it together inside of private one-to-one money coaching. So if this resonates with you, if you're listening to this and thinking, that is me, right? This is me. I used to be more on top of things, right? And now I make good money, but I just don't feel like I'm as far along as I should be. This is exactly what we work to change inside of private one-to-one money coaching. Private one-to-one money coaching will help you to get from where you are today to where you actually want to be, right? We look at where you are financially and what you desire, and we bridge that gap together. So if you're ready to stop wondering where all your money is going and start giving your income direction, you are invited to book a consultation. You can go to jermainefoley.com/consult. That's Jermaine with a G, Foley.com/consult, or simply click on the link in the show notes. Listen, when you book that call and you show up to that call, you do not need to prepare anything. Just come as you are. You do not need to know your numbers. You do not have to have things perfectly organized. You could just come and I'm going to lead the session from there. It will be no pressure and no judgment. And I really want to talk to you if you're feeling like, you know what, Jermaine, I really want to do this, but I'm in my 40s. I might be even in my 50s. I feel like I should have figured this out by now. I am so ashamed and embarrassed, and I don't know if I'm ready to share all of this with someone else. Here's what I want you to know. Shame and embarrassment, it causes you to hide and it perpetuates more of the same. And so sometimes if you want a different result, you have to be willing to do different things. And I know that booking this can be uncomfortable, right? You're stepping outside your comfort zone. And I heard this saying, and I'm going to share it with you. You've probably heard it before, but everything you ever wanted is literally one step outside your comfort zone. So take that step outside your comfort zone, book that consultation. You will be amazed at the changes you will make within the time we work together. My program is 6 months long, and the night and day difference is astonishing. Women come to me with very little money saved, lots of debt, right? 10, 20,000 in debt, and they have triple the amount saved. The turnaround that they make is 10K or more, right? So they would have saved 10K or more, paid off 10K or more in debt, invested 10K, made additional 10K, or a combination of that adds up to 10K. That is the difference that people experience when they stop ignoring their money and they work with a professional who's been there, done that, who knows the psychology and the strategy of how to get you to where you want to go. Okay, so if that's you, you're invited to book the consultation. If you want a 10K turnaround, you want your finances to look $10,000 different in the right direction in 6 months, you're invited to book a consultation with me. Again, it's jermainefoley.com/consult, or simply go to the show notes and book your session. All right, I hope you have a wonderful week. I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, if money is the one area of life you just can't seem to figure out, even though you make good money, you're not alone. That's why you're invited to book a complimentary one-to-one money consultation with me so that we can figure out how to solve your biggest money challenges. To sign up, simply go to jermainefoley.com/consult or check out the show notes. Hope to meet you soon.